Hi, I'm Lori with Sirius Software. I'm going to review the credit card changes that were introduced in Control 6.0. Let's start out by discussing what brought about the need for the credit card changes in Control. The changes made in Control were a result of the PCI Council changing their encryption requirements for processing credit cards. This required Sirius to look for an alternate credit card processing solution for our customers. We've since reworked the entire credit card module, replacing our end-to-end encryption with credit card tokenization. The main benefits of this change are: the first benefit is that no credit card information will be stored directly in your control database. All sensitive credit card data will be stored in FreedomPay's vault. This leads to the second benefit. Since there's no sensitive information in your control database, this may lower your PCI security requirements. Since we were reworking the entire module, we also rewrote the payment interfaces to be simpler and easier to use. The fourth benefit will probably be everyone's favorite. You will no longer be forced to change your control password every 90 days. Starting in Control 6.0, your password will only need to be 7 characters long, but there's no additional restrictions other than that. The last benefit is that you'll be able to set up a time each day for your credit card batches to settle automatically. In January of 2017, two additional options will be available. The first one is that Control will support passing Level 2 and Level 3 data to Elevon. This is significant because this could result in lower credit card processing fees on qualifying transactions. The second future option is the ability to pre-authorize payments for an order. Next, we'll go over the requirements for using FreedomPay. The first thing that you need to do is set up an account with FreedomPay. If you're in the US, you'll want to contact Ed with capital Q. For our Canadian customers, you'll want to contact Don Andrews with NextGen Canada. The second requirement is that you'll need to update to version 6.0. And the third requirement is that you must be a control user. So you have to be in the US or Canada and be a control user. Once your account is set up with either Ed or Don, you'll have the ability to do two things. The first one is to use the online payment feature. This was released in August of 2016. This feature allows you to email an invoice to a customer with a new Pay Online button. Once the customer gets the email, they'll open the invoice, they'll click on the Pay Online button, and that's going to bring them to this hosted payment page. This is where they'll enter in their billing address, their credit card details, and then submit this information. This is going to post a payment in Control, as well as send you an email letting you know that a payment has been received. The second thing that you'll be able to do with the Freedom Pay account is process credit cards in Control. Now you could do one or both of these options. The rest of this webinar will go over processing credit cards in Control, since that's what's changed in Control 6.0. Okay, let's briefly go over the setup steps. There's just 3 of them and they're pretty easy. We'll go over them here and then we'll switch to Control and take a look. So the first thing that you'll need to do is you'll need to enter in the store ID and terminal ID into Control that you get from Freedom Pay. The next thing that you'll need to do is you'll need to determine if you need to migrate or delete your credit card information that was in previous versions of Control. The third thing that we need to do is just to verify that our default bank accounts are correct for each of our credit card types. Now let's go look at these options in Control. In Control, we'll want to click on the Setup option at the very top, then select Accounting Setup, and over to the left, select Credit Card Options. Now that we're on the credit card options screen, what we'll need to do is edit. We'll want to enter in our terminal ID and our store ID that we get from Freedom Pay. The terminal ID and store ID that I'm using here are for testing purposes only, so it doesn't actually hit the processor. So you won't want to use these. You'll want to use the store ID and the terminal ID that you were given. The next thing that we'll need to do is we'll need to enable the credit card processing option. Okay, let's go ahead and save. Once we save, we'll have access to these two buttons right here. It's important to understand what these two buttons do. The first one says migrate credit cards. So if you have credit card information in your control database, so in previous versions of control, you've been saving credit card information on the contact record. And if you want to continue processing credit cards in Control 6.0, you'll want to migrate your credit card information. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to take the credit card details out of your system. Control is going to send each credit card one at a time to Freedom Pay. Freedom Pay is going to validate that credit card. It's going to verify that the number is a legit credit card number. It's going to verify that it hasn't expired yet, and there's a couple other things. So it's going to move that information to Freedom Pay's secure vault. And then whenever it's done, it's going to delete that credit card information out of your control database. So you'll definitely want to do this option, migrate credit cards, if you plan to continue to use the credit card feature in Control 6.0. Now, the reason someone would want to delete credit cards, do not migrate, is if in previous versions you were storing credit card information, but in Control 6.0 and later versions, you decide you do not want to process credit cards in Control. You'll want to get that data out of your database so that you don't have that sensitive credit card information on at your location. So you'll want to delete the credit card information, but since you don't have a terminal ID and a store ID from Freedom Pay, you won't be able to do that migration. So you'll want to do one or the other, but not both of these. Third requirement is just to verify that your default bank accounts, there were some changes that were made in Control. This is just to verify that each of your credit card types are pointing to the correct default bank account. So we'll just match these up. The ones that I have on my screen do look correct, but you'll want to do this so that whenever you go to do your reconciliation, everything flowed into the correct account. Okay, let's save this. Now that we have all of the setup complete, I've switched back over to the PowerPoint presentation, and we'll go over, there's three main changes or three main interface changes in Control 6.0. Let's look at those first on the PowerPoint, and then we'll go into Control and we'll look at these individually. So the first one is that the credit card information screen on the contact record has changed. You can see this looks different than the screen that you're used to. The second change is the quick pay interface. So this is the option that you get whenever you click on the payments tab. If you have an order open, you click the payments tab. And if you click the little deposit payment button, this is the screen that you get. This one also looks different from previous versions of Control. And the third screen that's changed is the MultiPay interface. Now this is the one that's at the very top, the payments button at the very top of Control. This one has also changed. Now let's go back to Control, and we will look at each of these three interfaces in more detail. So back in Control, I've opened up a company record. I have one of my contacts selected. We're going to go to the Financial tab on the contact record, and you're going to see a screen similar to this if you don't have credit card details already saved on the contact, which most of you guys won't. So if we look at the contact, if we edit this, we have the ability to do one of two things. We can add ACH information. So if I click this option, I'm able to supply a routing number and an account number, and then I'm able to also delete this. The second thing I'm able to do is add a credit card number. So if I click on Add Card, this page right here is going to open up. Now this is actually a web page. So let's go in and enter in our credit card information. Okay, and this is going to be for John Frank. And since I'm on a test system, I completely made up this credit card information just so that I can show you guys how this works. So we're going to submit this, and really this is more of a save than a submit. Let me get rid of that right there. I accidentally put an apostrophe. Let's click submit here, and that's going to add the card to this record. Now, one thing you guys won't see this little strip right here. Once again, on a test system, that's why I'm seeing that. So now that we have our credit card information saved to this contact record. There's a couple things that we can do. We can delete this if we ever needed to, let's say this card, they cancel this card, we can delete this. We can click this verify button, and what this is going to do is it's going to check the validity of the credit card. It's going to make sure that the credit card, one, is still an open account, that it has the correct account number, and that it hasn't been expired. The next thing that we can do is we can update. So if we need to change any information on the credit card record, we can click this update button and we'll be able to do that. Let's go ahead and save this. So this is the first way to add credit card information to a contact's record. I'm going to show you a second way, but I'm going to show you one other thing before that. So this is the first way to add credit card information. Let's go ahead and save that. And then let's go to an order for our company, the Country Kitchen. So let's open up our Order Explorer and the Country Kitchen. If we go to our Payments tab, so this is the second screen that's changed, or the second interface that's changed in Control. So over on the left-hand side, if I click on Deposits Payments, so here's the second interface that's changed. It's the Quick Payment interface. So you have pretty much the same information that you guys are used to seeing at the top, the company details, the description of the order, your balance due, your amount to pay. Now, if you had a deposit in system setup, if you have a deposit percentage, Control would only display that percentage. But since I already have a partial payment on this order, it is displaying the balance of the order by default, so $99.34. Okay, so I can also come over here to the right-hand side and change my status or my station. I can also, if I have the payment backdate option turned on, I can backdate it from here. The main changes though on this screen are going to be the payment types, this information down at the bottom. So let's take a look at those. The very first one says new credit card, run a new credit card not on file. So this is if we do not have a card saved on file. So recently we just went to John Frank's contact information and we saved a credit card. Let's say this particular company, you call them or they call you and they say, oh, I have this new credit card. I want you to go ahead and put this payment on that card. So what you would do is you would use this new option right here because that credit card has not been saved yet. So whenever we open this, it's going to connect to Freedom Pay. It's only going to take a second. And then our hosted payment page is going to show up. This is, or also sometimes we call it the HPP. So the address information is going to default. We will need to enter in the country code, and we'll want to enter in the credit card details. So if the customer calls us, we're going to ask them what's the name on file. Um, Maybe this is John's wife. So we're going to put in that credit card information one more time. Oops. Okay, and then we'll submit it. Now, once we submit it, Control is going to ask us if we want to save this information. So we can put in a note if we need to, but right here it says keep on file for. If I click this checkbox and then click the drop down here, it's going to give me a list of all of the contacts that are on, all the active contacts on this company record. Over to the right, it's also going to show us which one of these contacts have credit card details or ACH details. Now remember, if I go to save this new credit card to Amy Adams' record, it's going to overwrite the existing credit card that's there since each contact can only have one credit card linked to it. So I'm going to select John Frank. I'm going to override the credit card on his record with the one that we just entered into the system. So we'll select him and then we'll go ahead and save that. Now that we see that our payment has posted the $99.34, I'm going to actually void that because I want to go back into this payment screen and show you some of the other options at the bottom. So to void a payment, you're going to do the same thing that you've always done in Control. You'll right click on a specific payment, we'll void it, and it's going to ask us for a reason, and we'll just say it was a test payment. And that's going to reverse that. Our payments were voided. It'll reverse that, perfect, and then we'll be able to go back into our deposit payment screen. Okay, so the second option that we have is to post a payment. Let me just change this amount to $1 so that we don't post the balance. and we can use one of the credit cards on file. So let's say we want to post our $1 payment using Amy's Visa card ending in 1111. We'll select that card and then we'll just post the payment. And this is actually going to process that payment using the stored credit card. Okay? To go back to see the other payment types, we'll click on this change payment type option here. So some of the other options that we have is to use the ACH on file. If we scroll over to the right, we have an option to use cash, check, wire transfer, and ACH. Now let's go ahead and click check here. All four of these act the exact same way. So whenever I click check, the screen that I see over here to the right hand side, it's going to be the same for all four of those options. So on the check payment, we would just enter in our check number and then we would record the payment. Let's go back though, because there are a couple more options that I need to explain to you. Okay. So these next ones, MasterCard, American Express, and Visa, these are going to be used for manual transactions. And whenever we say manual transactions or unprocessed, we're going to use those two words interchangeably, manual and unprocessed. That means that you probably have some type of terminal. So if you do have a terminal, maybe you got a terminal in order to use the chip reader function. So anytime you make a payment using a terminal in Control 6.0, it's going to become a two-step process. In previous versions of Control, that was a one-step process, but now it's going to break it out into two. So whenever you go to your front counter, someone hands over a card. So whenever you have a card present transaction, you're going to go to your terminal. You're either going to put it in the chip reader, or you're going to swipe it like you normally do. You're going to finish processing that transaction through that terminal. So what we don't want to do is you don't want to come into Control and use any of these options at the beginning. You don't want to use a new card or a card on file because that's not going to actually process the card for a second time. And we don't want to do that. What we want to do after you process the card on the terminal is we want to come in Control and we want to say, hey Control, this payment has been paid and it was paid by a Visa card or a MasterCard. So what we're going to do is we're going to select this MasterCard or Visa, whichever option it is. Going to select it. We're going to put in our tracking information or maybe our confirmation number. Usually the terminals will give you a confirmation number. You'll pop that in there and then you'll record the payment here. So if you're using a terminal, it's going to turn into a two-step process. You swipe the card in the terminal and then you come to Control and you post an unprocessed payment. And that really explains for the payment types. There is one other payment type that I'd like to show you. So I'm going to go real quick. I'm going to cancel out of this and I'm going to give this customer some customer credit. So on the Country Kitchen on their financial tab, I'm going to give them $20 in customer credit. And let's flip back over to that order we were just on and let's go to the payments tab. Okay, so what you're going to see is whenever you first open the screen that the customer credit it's available, it's there, but it's grayed out. I can't click on it. So I'm trying to click on it. I can't click on it. The reason that I can't click on it is because it's telling me that the Country Kitchen has $20 of credit on file. But if I look at my amount to pay, I'm saying I want to pay $99.34. Since that's higher than $20, it's not allowing me to select the Country Kitchen. So if I lower this to anything to $20 or less, I'm going to type in 15. All of a sudden my customer credit option becomes available. I can then click on this and apply my credit to this order. Let's go ahead and do that. Perfect. So you're going to get a payment successful screen. Okay, and there we see our credit applied of $15 has been posted to this order. Okay, let's go check out the third screen or the third interface that's changed in Control 6.0. Okay, we'll go to the top. We'll click on the Payments button at the very top. We also refer to this as the MultiPay screen. So I'm going to go ahead and there's two ways to use this screen. There's one very similar to what we've done in previous versions. You can enter in your company name. I'm going to go ahead and type in my company name. If you wanted to, you could use the little Company Explorer option, the magnifying glass, to search for a company. I always like to type it in though and select my company. Now the other thing that I could have done was just popped in my order number, but I usually just select the company name. So here we go. So I selected Alphabet Soup Learning Center. So down at the bottom, it's going to show you the two orders that I have for this particular company. let's say we got a payment of $400. So they have an order for 300 and another order for 161. Let's override the payment for this one to $100. Okay, so if we look in the top right hand corner, our amount to pay, notice it shows the symbol here. What the symbol is saying is that it's going to sum up your amount columns, and that number is what's going to be put here. It looks grayed out. If I needed to override it, I could. I could come in here and do, $420. But if I want to get back to that auto sum, I'm going to unlock it, and it's going to resum, and it's going to show as grayed again. Um, Now, a couple options. If I want to post an overpayment, and I come down here and I go back to the 420. So what this is asking me to do is it's telling me that I want to pay 420, but my amount to orders, this amount right here, the sum of this column is only equal to $400. So I have 20 extra dollars that I can't do much with. So that's what we call an unapplied payment. But what we can do is we can apply that to our customer's credit. So I'm going to check on this option right here, and that's going to apply that additional $20 to our customer's credit. Underneath, we have an option, the effective date. This is essentially if you have the back date feature turned on for payments, you're going to see this. Now, another option that we don't see here, but if you had divisions and multiple divisions active, you're going to see an option here for received at, and that's where you can select which division the payment was received at. So if we go down and look at our orders, we've already talked about selecting the orders and posting the correct amount that we want to the specific um, to the each order. If we go over to the right, this is where we can change the status and the station. So if I needed to change the station here, let's say it's in printing, and let's say this other one is, let's mark it sell, and we're going to say that it's been installed. Okay, those show up as red, that the ones that have been changed. Now, one thing you'll notice down here is that I don't have access to my credit card option, my customer credit, or my card on file. The reason that is because Control does not allow you to post an overpayment to whenever you're using a payment type of a credit card. So if we come back here and if we uncheck or if we click on the unlock button, now you'll notice that our two credit card options are available. Okay, now if I were to change my amount to pay at the top, let's say I only wanted to apply, if I wanted to apply a payment of $40, so I uncheck this one. And for my first order, I changed my payment amount to $40. You'll notice that the customer credit becomes available. So the same way that we use these options down here on the quick payment screen, the same things apply in the multi-pay screen. So you're only going to see the customer credit option if your amount to pay is less than the credit balance that you have. If I scroll over to the right, you'll notice I have the same exact options that I had on the single payment, and the same exact rules apply. That concludes the tutorial for how to use the new credit card changes in Control 6.0. We hope you guys enjoy the changes.